So, you've heard me talk a lot about digital citizenship, and hopefully, you've heard me specifically talk about the fact that while I do think specific digital citizenship lessons are a great thing, and a lot of times there's great curriculums out there, and to do those as targeted lessons is a good idea. I really think the best thing is just to talk about digital citizenship in the natural flow of conversation in your classroom and just look for those teachable moments where you can talk about digital citizenship from a personal perspective. How does it apply to your life? What are the lessons you're learning? What are the habits you're forming and implementing in your life? And doing those things in natural ways, including listening for those teachable moments from what your kids are sharing about how they are interacting with technology. And I just think that's so important because, for one, I feel like digital citizenship is citizenship now. Like and technology is so integrated into our lives that these two things work together, that digital citizenship is something we have to talk about a lot. But I also think it's more impactful that way, because a lot of times when you have that standalone time, kids are going to be more likely to check out if that's all you're doing. And so it's important that we do both. Now, with that, I want to say that there's a new part of this idea of digital citizenship that I'm noticing is really important for kids. I've having some conversations with students recently, getting to hang out at the high school job fair and talk with some kids about maybe having a future in education and what that could mean. And here's the idea. So there's a lot of articles like this, top 18 easy jobs that pay well. And so what I've learned is that a lot of students are looking for the easy job that pays well. And it's not so much that is a new thing. I'm sure that's been around for a while. I know I had that mindset, growing up. Don't want to work hard, but I want to make a lot of money. But because of technology and seeing these different things like game streaming and influencers and, the movies like The Social Network, where it makes it look like these companies that make billions of dollars started up overnight, I think it's become ingrained in our kids, including with how easy technology makes their lives, that their job is to find the easy job that pays well. And so if they hear it might be hard, they don't want to do it. So that was what we heard a lot. We heard a lot of, education's hard, so I don't want to do it. My parents are teachers, and it's hard, so I don't want to do it. And so my concern is that because, again, of technology, of the things they're seeing on social media, just in media in general, because of these new opportunities, is that they've kind of decided that either the career's easy or I'm not going to do it. And unfortunately, as we all know, that means they're going to be in for a rude awakening if we don't prepare them for the reality that, life can be hard. Now, hear me out. This is not I'm an old man saying, get off my lawn thing. So I want to be very clear about that. Granted, I do turn 40 this year, but that's not what this is. It's really out of a heart for kids and just realizing that we, as a part of future readiness, as a part of digital citizenship, need to talk to them about these things and talk through these things with them and sort of retrain their brain kind of for a reality check of, you know what? Technology is opening some great doors for you, but in order to walk through those doors and be successful, one thing hasn't changed. It's going to take hard work, and there are going to be bad days and good days. And that's the big thing, is I just feel like it's almost like their brains, just like we've talked about our habits and brains and behaviors changing. I've been sending videos to kids about this, some weekly tech success tips, trying to talk to them about that. There's this barrage of information that they get all day, and they see this number of, different new careers out there and all these different options. And I think what's happened is begin to retrain their brain, because they see it so fast and it seems to happen overnight, that they don't understand that no matter what you choose, what path you choose, there's hard work in that path, and there's going to be difficulties along the way. And again, we want to set them up for success. So I think it's important we do that. So there's just a few big ideas that I think you can do, along with, again, this all happens integrated in conversation within your classroom. Now, if you've got set aside times like restorative circles and things like that where you can talk about this stuff, that's great. But again, it's, to me, naturally talking about things going on in your life as it relates to technology, digital citizenship, your career, and then also listening for teachable moments with them. But the first thing is don't dismiss their career goals. Lead them to get educated about them. So, for example, kid says, I want to be a game streamer. I want to go into esports. I want to be an influencer. I will admit, my initial reaction is to say, that's dumb, pick something else. And with some kids, maybe that's what we need to say. But I do realize that this is a fact of life, that there's some people that do this. And then I also think too, though, if a kid thinks they might want to do this, they may actually accidentally, in sort of pursuing it in high school, sometimes run into some extra skills, like to where they can become a social media marketer for an actual, career with a firm or a company or whatever. But lead them to get educated about them. So let's just take influencer, for example. Tell them about, hey, why don't you go look into some influencers and see what they do? And there's a lot of them that do podcasts and things like that. And they talk about the reality of like how hard they work creating content, how they, how many hours that takes, how they're having to study analytics, how they're having to learn legal changes and all this stuff. And just help them to go and realize, you know what? If you want to do this, here's the amount of work in it. Here's the knowledge and skills you need to have. Here's maybe some CT courses you want to take. Here's maybe something you want to do in college, and start to learn these things. And then as they learn that, they may go, you know what, that stuff seems interesting. Maybe I actually want to go into this field, or maybe like marketing or whatever the case may be. And so lead them to get educated about it. Because the other thing that again starts to happen is the big idea of we're trying to unravel this mindset of all things, like there's some path out there that's just going to be super easy and super simple. And so we want to do that. Talk to them about the good and the bad of careers when possible. So, first one's more about when they're saying these things and kind of changing how we talk about it. Second thing though is looking for those opportunities, especially as it relates to your content area. And again, being age appropriate, because I get, little kids, they still need to hear this, but it's going to be different. But talking about the good and the bad of careers, like, real estate, great career, be your own boss, set your own hours. But guess what? You also have to hold your breath and hope the housing market doesn't collapse, which happens. It's happened, right? I know I've got a friend. Hey, he gets to work from home. He's a professional programmer. They program the kiosks at like arenas to like do, touch or personless, hot dog sales or whatever the case may be. Well, guess what? They had this startup, and then this global event happened called COVID, and no one could go anywhere. And so their startup almost folded, and he was almost out of a job. So, just talking about the good and the bad, and just helping them realize, you know what, pick something you're passionate about, pick something you're talented at, pick something that, you can realistically pursue. Not that we can't set lofty goals, but also realistically achieve. And then how do we get there? What work is going to go into that? And so and then again, letting them know like every job's going to have a bad day. Because I also do think there's some kids that really would enjoy education, whether that's as a teacher or teaching and then going into some type of administration. Like let's say they love marketing, they love the legal side of things, and then doing that through the public school system. I really think they would enjoy that. And so they need to understand like, any job you choose, like don't avoid education just because you've heard bad things about it. Because one, it's not all true in general. But two, just know every job's got its good and its bad. And the last thing I'll say is this: speak the truth in love. So we do need to be honest with kids, but kind of like I was talking about earlier, my MO is to be like, when they say I want to be a streamer or I want to be a influencer, I'm like, that's dumb, it's stupid, pick something else. But instead, speak the honest truth about like, hey, don't think that's the best career. Just for one, there can be some, social, emotional side effects that can be downright dangerous, honestly. Two, I don't think it's as rewarding possibly as you think it is. And three, I don't think you understand the amount of effort and work that's going to go into it. And I don't think this is actually going to be something you're going to enjoy. So you see the conversation kind of changes. So it's not that we're not speaking the truth to them. It's not that we're saying, hey, that's great, you're being an influencer, let's help you get there. Not saying that whatsoever. But just kind of saying, hey, let's actually guide and let's go through these paths. And while we're doing that, let's look at some other things that you might actually be interested in. Or like I know my parents, when I told them I wanted to be a musician, like, that's great. Let's come up with a backup plan, which is a loving way to say that's not happening. Let's make sure you get a real job. So just some things to consider. Again, digital citizenship needs to be part of our conversations almost on a daily basis with kids. Look for those teachable moments. And then again, with these careers, help them to understand that there's a lot of information flowing out them. I think there's a lot of stuff that they see that makes it seem like somehow their job is to find an easy career path, and just help them realize like success looks different for different people. All careers have difficulties and hard moments. And we want you to be successful, which means you've got to be prepared to put the work in, face the challenges, overcome those obstacles, and just learn and grow as much as you can so you're ready for whatever gets thrown at you.